Howdy world, Sean Henderson Pierre, the beer rambling and gambling, looking at Schlitz Bull Ice. The bull is back. 8.2 ABV by volume. I can't keep saying that. 8.2 ABV, 8.2%. Strong. By Schlitz Brewery Company, now under the Pabst umbrella, which I will talk about that. Again, not a good score on Beer Advocate or the Bros. Don't give it a very high score. Rate Beer also trashes it as well, but anyway, here's what the beer looks like, folks. Your standard high gravity lager. See a little color right over there. Some lacing, not much, but just a little bit of lacing, a little there on the top. Onto the scent. Definitely sense some of the sweetness in this beer. Definitely some corn. More sugar. Dextrose sugar, as you can say, in this. Definitely is right there. Syrupy, sugary. A lot of some alcohol in this. It's really pungent on this. Onto the taste. Mm. Yeah, this is, yeah, kick ass. Um, if you've seen some of the videos I've done previously on high gravity beers, I hate the term malt liquor, but high gravity beers. The style has been around um, for going back the 1950s. Alcohol laws were not as great back then. They were sort of very, asinine in times that you couldn't sell certain beer at to the higher percentage. You had to do it at a very low rate. 4 or 5 was the highest. This is the first one. Um, Not first one, but the company Schlitz, as long as Country Club were probably the first that came out in the 50s, were the first two to really um, were targeting a certain market. People wanted very strong beers, and um, they were their demographic was mostly towards well-to-do middle class or well-to-do white folks, who play racquetball or were at the golf course or nice house in the neighborhood, um, in the good side of town, not the bad side of town, and they were they did very well, and those beers were basically that was their demographic. They really did well. They were not those beers were not in high volume, high demand. Still not to this day. Volume share versus some of the other beverages, alcohol, or other beers. The Buds and the Schlitz and the Miller High Lifes and whatnot. And that's who they're targeting. You've seen a lot of pictures on if you just search on your Bing or Google search and you type in malt liquor posters or ads, you will notice that um, who they were reaching out to. Schlitz and also Country Club. Um, they were reaching to a certain group who had money to spend and who were well off. Then the company said, okay, we're missing out on another demographic, which was the lower middle class or the poor, more African Americans or Hispanics, those who were not in good financial standing, they were doing okay, but not up in that level, well to do. So in the 1960s and going to the 70s, the other companies, the Schlitz, the Country Club, Colt 45, another one from National Brewery in Baltimore, Maryland, um, began to target more towards minorities and African Americans. Af- Minorities, African Americans and Hispanics, I should say. Minorities. Well, okay, minorities. And they began to really target them. But within time, that group really began to overtake the well-to-do folks in terms of what of buying this style of beer, and they began to, you know, um, really sort of did very well. And then they did a lot of commercials, advertisements on radio and TV. Um, you had football players, you had actors, and if you go into the 70s, um, a lot of famous people, particularly those within the like Alex Karras, former football player now, does stuff for, of course, the late Alex Karras, Mongo from the Blazing Saddles movies, Blazing Saddle movie, as well as Webster's father, and he did Monday Night Football. He did advertising for Schlitz Bull. He had Kevin Kline, a couple of others unknown actors. Saul Brooks, who played Boss Hogg on the Dukes of Hazzard, a couple other people. Then you had singers, other celebrities, David Copperfield. You had the Kool and the Gang, Teddy Pendergrass. Others began to advertise towards that demographic. Um, and then you had other brands came out, King Cobra from Anheuser Busch. Then you had I mentioned Old English 800, and you had it, which had been a Old English stout back in Great Britain. They became transported over here, and they did some advertising. And then you had, of course, but the well-known of the malt liquor line, of the high gravity beers, were Billy D. Williams and the Colt 45 commercials. He really kind of took it to another level, just the suave debonair style that he was, elegant, and he would get the girl at the end and meet up with some woman at night to go hang out and socialize, and you knew what was about to happen. Things were about to get down. So, um, I mentioned Fred Williamson with King Cobra, um, Old English 800. You had St. Ives, and you go into the 90s. Um, that's when things sort of, the malt liquors began to really take a very negative turn. People within the civil rights community were criticizing the breweries and some of the celebrities that were advertising it, like Billy D. Williams, like Fred Williamson, then the rappers that, like Ice Cube, we did St. Ives, as well as Snoop Dogg. You had the Ghetto Boys did the Schlitz malt liquor commercial, and many others. And they all were slamming them, saying, what are you doing selling this just bullshit, this outright trash? You're destroying the community. People are killing each other, and really attacked them. And then I said to me, and even they said this, and I would agree. Why are you attacking us? Why don't you attack the other African Americans or maybe the other celebrities who are advertising beers, um, like this celebrity advertising for Budweiser or Bud Light, or this celebrity advertising um, for Miller. Why don't you knock them? And they had some valid points. They were just seeming just to be targeting just one select group of people. So, um, as that time, like myself, I kind of swayed away from all this stuff too. I had own, in high school, I remember, I had Old English, I had Colt 45, I had the King Cobras, um, and most of them were very mild. They weren't the high gravity stuff that we're getting now. Um, which all that changed in 1998, 99, when the arrival of Steel Reserve, the high gravity. people saw it and people saw the success of it, of that, of by Mackenzie Brewing Company or the Steel Brewing Company. Um, and of course, it was all under the guise of Miller. They did very well, and then within a few years later, they had several companies come out with the high gravity line of beverages. St. Ides with the 8.2% high gravity. Then, of course, Schlitz put out the VSL excuse me, in 2005. Hurricane, Anheuser-Busch's version of the high gravity to compete with Steel Reserve, that came out in 2005. So all of them were all trying to reach out that market. Now, this one here is interesting in itself. Not only was it 8.2% and is a high gravity, this came out in 1994. Not only for the gravity of this, or the amount of alcohol in this, but also came out during the time of the big ice beer craze, as we all may remember. Um, um, we had um, we had Labatt. First, they say Labatt was the first. Molson said they were the first to come out with the ice beer craze, with ice beer with Molson Ice. Labatt disagrees, said they were the first with the patent. Of course, Labatt Ice. Then in 1994, Genesee um, with their beer, Genesee Ice. And then you had but the one that really was successful was Miller's version, Miller, part of the Miller Brewery, Plankville Brewery, and that was Ice House, and that really kind of took off. And then Bud Ice, Natural Ice, Bud Ice is 95, Natural Ice, Bush Ice, Keystone Ice, Old Milwaukee Ice, um, Milwaukee's Best Ice. Um, there were a slew of them. So this came out around that same time, which in 1994, and so far, I'm for this. It doesn't do as well compared to the other. I mean, this version of this ice, this bull ice here, it does okay, but it doesn't do well as the I.M.L or the VSL, the very smooth lager, which is also at 8.2% or 8.5%. That's really tough stuff, and that's extra sweet in my opinion. And if you see my review of the Schlitz Bull VSL, you'll see what I'm talking about. But this is enjoyable. Saturday, it's raining, and I have no plans on really going anywhere. I did something just now. I'm probably going to do some errands and get some stuff around the house, but really don't plan on really doing much. Just hanging out and got laundry I'm doing right now and cleaning up the place a little bit here. So this is a very, very enjoyable lager. Um, can't find anything negative to say about this. And again, I said I don't plan on going anywhere, and I don't. 8.2%. This will knock you on your ass. I mean, figuratively, will knock you on your ass. This is not something that you're gonna pound a couple here and there and expect to go do some yard work or do any extreme heavy lifting. You're going to get that there may be some sort of an accident will happen, and you might be the one getting hurt, because this is just not something that you should drink and then expect to do those type of activities. So this is something you're going to have indoors, and you're going to chill for maybe a couple of hours, and I mean a couple of hours, because 8.2% is no joke. So anyway, what can I pair this thing with? Something spicy, something very spicy, like Asian cuisine. Um, pizza with some hot, a little maybe some Tabasco hot sauce on this. Hot wings. If you want to do something with a lot of kick and a lot of spice, this is the beer to match with it. So I'm enjoying this. This is quite pleasant. So I'm gonna give this beer. I'm gonna give this for. I'm gonna give this an 8. This is B. This is really good. For the style, I think B seems like a real good score and very pleasant. Again, nothing negative to say this. I found this in Atlanta. I did not get this anywhere in the Alabama area because they don't sell this in Alabama. Shocking. But I know where my sister-in-law lives up in Shreveport. I know she can get. You can probably find a lot of this. Definitely could find a lot of this back home for me in New Jersey, and it's you know really a must have. And you notice the market, the people who are buying this now, as of recently, of what I've seen over the last 2 3 years, I've swore off high gravity beers, and then all of a sudden, and watching a lot of other videos and watching the likes of my friend John Sharon and Ronald J. Terrio and a few others and a few other people I'm associated with on Facebook, um, you know, who have malt liquor, pay support groups or whatever. Um, the demographics have changed now. People are not dismissing this as as trash. They're kind of really embracing it. And to me, I've always said that this beer has been the foundation, if you will, of some of the craft beers because, as I mentioned earlier, people wanting more strong, high gravity, a little more beer with a little more kick, a little more attitude with it, instead of the bland 4 point whatever up to 5%. Then again, maybe 3% up to 5% style of beers, or 6%. They want something with a little more umph to it, and this and a couple of others, I think were kind of the foundation. Some say I'm kind of insane to make that statement, but that's kind of how I feel about it. And we all know again the demand or the volume is not up there with the other breweries, with the Buds and the Miller Lights, but it's a sort of niche market in a lot of ways. Hell is Doppelbock or whatever. So again, the brewery also was at that time Stroh's Brewery, but Stroh's bought out Schlitz in 1982, and then Stroh's went through some hard times, and then they were bought out by Pabst in 1999. So right now it's under the Pabst umbrella, the brewery. So all the Schlitz beers and even some of the Stroh's beers as well. So anyway, enough rambling on. Going on 19 minutes. I'm giving this beer a solid 8, which is a B. Really good. Nothing negative about it, folks. So if you've had the Schlitz Bowl Ice, leave your comments on the bottom. B for me, 8. Join us and Pierre the Beer Hamilton. Keep on watching, and as always, cheers.